Welcome back here with Goldberg. Today we're going to talk about a really fascinating subject. So much is made in the manosphere of how women will change after they get married, but you don't see too much content fixated upon how men shift, much like the chameleons they complain about, once the matrimonial knot has been tied. And to delve into that subject matter, we need to begin with an old friend who would be none other than Mike Cernovich. For those of you who don't know, I think he was married to a Facebook patent attorney. He didn't have much of a career himself, so when they got divorced under the state laws, he made out pretty well. And he took that money and entered blogging and did some kind of journalism career, but he began, of course, with the manosphere. So he's got some really interesting takes on society and relationships. Look over here. Women follow the strong men, and the weak men follow the women. It isn't always will be that way. This is Goodreads for one of his books, Danger in Play. For whatever reason, multiple browsers, Goodreads was not working, even though it functions on smartphones. So I'm not sure what was going on with that, but as it goes, Cernovich does not write for the slow or the weak. He writes for independent men, even some women. You go down to the first review, and it quotes from the book. Even a self-proclaimed strong, independent woman wants to be tamed. Women want to submit to a man. Okay. You got some more stuff here. He claimed that date rape does not exist. Have you ever tried raping a girl without using force? It's basically impossible. The whole lions mating. I brought this up in the video about there's no consent in nature, and I thoroughly debunked that. It's a very popular manosphere talking point. If we go down here, he's got a little tidbit. I screwed a girl. She said I raped her, cost me 50 grand. 5 years of my life, got depressed, I gained 80 pounds. Yeah, but look at me now. What if I'd not screwed her? Maybe I'd be in some effing schlub, dude, living a life of quiet desperation with 3 kids and a wife that hates me. This is so interesting because of what we're going to discuss in just a little bit here. But we're not quite done yet. So if we move up here, he's talking about choking a woman. Once you cut off oxygen to her brain, she has about 3 to 5 seconds before passing out. During these 3 to 5 seconds, her sexual pleasure will increase immeasurably. You know, folks, I get the fact that feminism is screwed up, that modern women are difficult. The problem is that so many people in the manosphere rely on this incendiary, disgusting content just because they want to get views or make some kind of money. He even had stuff about how to, or what it's like having sex with a tranny, and then tried to back out and claim it wasn't him. But, you know, why would you put that content forward if you didn't mean to have something to do with it? It's an open question. There's other people like that. There's a guy on YouTube, very incelic, autistic type person, always talking about these extreme, violent ideas towards women. While somehow also promoting marriage. I might have to address them as well at some point, but in any case, you go down here. The question isn't whether women want to be dominated. The question is whether you're man enough to dominate them. This means that domination starts with you. It's your mindset. Stop asking her what she wants. Start telling her what to do. Issuing commands. You're in charge. Once again, all this amped up, this is how you have to be alpha male dominant, which you'll see constantly in the manosphere. Now, this is where it gets more interesting. We have another article here. One can glimpse the fruits of Cernovich's gender philosophy in a profile with NYT, which portrays his current marriage as racked by tension and nervous laughter on the part of his indulgent wife. Early in their relationship, she read Danger in Play, including posts like how to cheat on your girlfriend. She would come home crying. How can you write such rude things? He tries to say, oh, that's just how guys talk. Now she stopped working. That's kind of interesting. And she said, I was still upset though, and he eventually deleted some older posts. He says, no, I rewrote the wording. I never disavow things I've said. Oh yeah, right. A lot of his stuff's gone, though. A lot of his stuff has been taken down. A lot of that disgusting content. And so I feel bad for his wife, to be perfectly honest. And this is one of the problems. you wonder how this guy down the road, if let's say he has kids and he wants to teach them, a daughter, okay, how you avoid bad men, and then she Google searches all this stuff, which is never going to go away. You're like, it's just tragic. So I really encourage guys, think before you say something or write something, because you don't know the repercussions of that down the road. Now, why do I bring all this up? Why do I focus on Cernovich? Well, it was just recently, and I had to bookmark this because I knew I was going to lose it. These folks, they tweet so much that you're not going to have a chance if you don't make sure to take note. Look at this. So, Harmeet K. Dillon says, letting husbands think they make all the major household decisions is a wise strategy in all faiths. Suckers. And he responds, I don't want to make them, and that's probably why me and my wife get along. Basically, I don't want to be hassled. No need to feel powerful or whatever. I can get the dopamine hit outside. House is all about namaste. This is the guy. We just went through all this stuff about being dominant, giving orders, being in control, essentially admitting in the context of marriage. Because he got married, surprisingly enough, at the height of his fame. He had just published a book that had sold very well, The Gorilla Mindset. He's this well-known person on the internet.com, and then suddenly he gets married, and people are going, why? You're supposed to be an alpha male. And look at the change. You could even see it in some of his older videos where he'd be sitting with his wife, and she'd you could tell she was sort of controlling the agenda or significantly influencing it. What happened to being an alpha male? What these dudes will do in the manosphere, they all claim that, oh yeah, I'm still alpha when I'm married. They spend their time belittling and insulting beta sim providers, weak men, and then they enter into the same union and no, I'm actually dominating my wife. But then by their own admission, they're not doing so. So why have you thought of maybe stepping up and apologizing, retracting your statements of attacking all these dudes who you basically joined in with them ultimately? I've also thoroughly debunked the idea that you can use game in a marriage. It's just not viable. It's almost as though folks will adopt certain views based upon the stage of their life. And then, oh well, now I've got to market a different way. I've got to be more into the traditionalism stuff. And they don't realize they're just being influenced by their age, by human mortality in a lot of respects. So it's really fascinating. Now, he's not the only one, of course, in the Red Pill community to do this. So we have the example of David D'Angelo. He was a PUA, then he ended up getting married. Here's Neil Strauss being an alpha male. More examples of him being an alpha male right there. Definitely alpha. So that's the Red Pill side of things. I saw this other post on Instagram, and I really wanted to bring it up in the context of how men change. It's by this guy, Brian Tomato. If you want to win in your marriage, learn to lay down your life daily. Every husband I know would take a bullet for his wife. And, well, no, she would use him as a human shield. I'm just kidding. The truth is you probably don't know anyone who has died that way. Well, yeah. Stop the fantasies. And it continues. How about we start with making the bed, or let her win the next argument? Now folks, I understand marriages are about compromise, like relationships. That is such a horrible piece of advice. You're two grown people together in a relationship. If someone's in the wrong, I don't care if it's a man or a woman, they need to know that. They can't just keep going around, oh yeah, I want to feel good about myself. And I think of it back in the day when I was doing martial arts, because we were a smaller dojo, they would have all the class together. And so sometimes you have to do sparring with the little kids, okay? Now realistically, you could throw a kick and knock the kid out, but you understand that they're younger, you don't want to be that way, so you give them a chance, right? You maybe fight not like you would fight someone your own size. That's because they're a kid. If you're talking about two adults and you say, well, yeah, she's right because I want to make sure that, the house is at peace. No, if she's wrong, she needs to know. And if he's wrong, or if he's verbally or emotionally abusive, he needs to know too. You don't give up all your agency, all your autonomy, and all your human dignity just to maintain a marriage. This is the fundamental problem. It's one thing to sacrifice in the name of your kids, in the name of really loving someone, but loving someone, they should not expect you to lie to them, to conjure up this fantasy in their brain because they want to feel good. And this is one of the fundamental problems that you see. You all know that I'm not an advocate of marriage, but I would say whether you do end up getting married, and I wish people well, I'm not mocking them or anything, but even in relationships, you cannot afford to have this idea where your interests, your point of view is irrelevant just because you don't want to make your significant other angry. That is recipe for disaster, because if your union lasts, it's going to be on the basis of you not being respected and not being acknowledged, even when what they're doing is wrong or potentially destructive. So make sure you square that. I mean, I see these guys, and again, going back to the red pillars, bashing these men and looking at these women, oh yeah, she really knows how to turn men into cucks. And you've got Jean Renault there, and he's like, oh, her cucks are dead. Just understand, it is a lot better to be free and be independent. And maybe you date or something, but if you're going to form a union, make sure it's on the right terms, so you don't end up as essentially like these red pill guys, these ex-PUAs. You end up as a doormat trying to pretend that somehow it's for the sake of the relationship and you're in control. No, you ain't.